All right,
Just want to remind everyone, if they wish to speak on a certain issue, please get a sign up form. We should have them in the back.
at the table.
Okay.
Not Fridays.
Did you break it?
Maybe. We could go ahead and start. I've got backup recording.
You do have backup? Okay. All right, we'll now call the city council regular meeting to order for April 22nd. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Invocation will be given by Deputy Mayor Jim Bernard.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for your love and thank you for being with all of us here tonight. We ask you to give us the guidance and the wisdom to go through this meeting and do your will with the best will, the best interest of the citizens of Avon Park. And we do this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember McGuire. Here. Councilmember McCure.
Here.
Councilmember Taylor.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, at first we'll have the consent agenda. This will be C4 through 7. Be looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda C 4 through 7, please.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
No.
Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire.
Yes.
Councilmember McCure.
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
For the moment everyone's been waiting for. Item number 8, this will be to discuss the roadway and water issues in Crystal Lake Club. We do have Thomas here with us tonight. If you will, just give your name and organization there for the record.
My name is Thomas Atchison, Vice President of the Crystal Lake Club Homeowners Association.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
I'd like to thank the city council for giving me the opportunity to address issues and concerns we have in our community. The roads are breaking apart. They have major holes and cracks. Country Club, Flamingo, Sneed Circle, and the north section of Crystal Lake Drive are in terrible shape. They are dangerous to bike riders and walkers. There has been one injury already, and since these cracks have developed. And there are more issues, I'm afraid, that may follow. Also, we have issues with water lines, numerous breakage in water lines, and boil alerts. There is also an issue with sewer lines that are approximately 38 years old, and some of the wastewater problems are affecting some of the multiple homes. When Crystal Lake was annexed into the city of Avon Park, we were told the city would be responsible to take care of the issues. Our question is, has money been put aside for a budget for these issues? And it was just handed to me tonight before the meeting. I understand you are all aware that there is a Florida Green Book. It's a manual for minimum standards of streets and highways in Florida. It is, you were notified as of April the 20th, I believe. And I was not aware of this until about 9:30 this morning. But I know you have been presented with this statute. And my question is, what is, I understand the cities or the streets right now are under contract. And they're supposed to start on May the 10th or approximate date. Can you verify that?
Hopefully we can get you some answers. Mark, are you or Jason going to be taking questions?
We both will.
Okay.
Just to go back a little bit, you on council, you know that back in 2023, we received our pavement management plan, which we paid Kimley Horn to do. Out of that, there was 770 roadway sections, and 9% were listed as, or actually 7% were listed as poor and 2 as very poor, which was 9% of the roadway sections. That was 69 roadway sections that were that 9%, and Crystal Lake had 15, which was 22%. And David Roberts, who was there then, looked at this, so we no longer just pick and choose which street. We look at our poor ones and try to take care of them. And in July of 2023, a purchase order was sent to EPI for all the streets that the gentleman just listed here. And actually, I had a little map on it. It's probably half your streets there because the 2 long streets. And they have been calling up many times, many different ones of them. And we've been telling them that EPI has the purchase orders. David Roberts is the one that mostly we've been dealing with. In fact, you just found out when I sent you an email that David has left us to do something else, but we do have a public works director. Actually, Jason, in February, I got with him. I asked him to look into and get with EPI. Jason actually went down to Crystal Lake, which I had a couple months prior, and drove around on these streets. They do need fixing. We've been with EPI numerous times. They have told Jason prior to you all getting a hold of me that they would be starting in early May. So the roadways will be, unless Jason heard something different today, will be, it's going to take them about 2 weeks. EPI said they were waiting, as you know, from the emails I sent you, because it is a mobile home park that a lot of people go north, and they felt that for 2 weeks they'd be working, it'd be easier for them. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for EPI. This has been on my plate by calls, justifiable calls. EPI is an outstanding agency or company to work with. The owner's a great guy, but they're so good, they take on so much work. And I actually told our purchasing agent 2 months ago that this year when we use our funds, we're going to go put it out to bid and see what we get because of that. But I'll turn this over to Jason because he has been down there. Jason has a lot of background, as David did, in roadways. He can probably point out some things on what's happening to roads and why they need fixing, but there's also there's some water getting on that's causing a lot of this. And he can also speak of any water issues or boil water and what we've been doing down there with the water. And then I can answer any questions. As you know, I don't know who all's here, but it's probably 4 or 5 different people I answer the same thing to, because I asked a couple of years ago, please just one send it to me, because I keep sending it. But I understand y'all being here. I'd be frustrated too, because I am too, as David Roberts will tell you, and their new director is. I'm frustrated with EPI, but not in a bad way, because they are a great company to work with and they do outstanding work. But so it is getting fixed starting in May. And if it doesn't, then I'll go down there to EPI myself. But I'll turn it over to Jason, who's got more information.
Hello, everyone. Jason Agassiz, Public Works Director. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yes, I've been with the city now for roughly 3 months. The first month, I went out with Dave Roberts, who was our former Public Works Supervisor. We went out and took a look at some of the areas, as Mark did. Let me know that this was a priority, so I did want to get this taken care of quickly. But I also know that, going into it, it did require coordination to see where they were on the schedule. So when I asked them, I held a meeting with Tall, who I guess they're one of their the main leaders over there. He's the owner. Okay, so I met with him and he stated that it would take a little time, but the primary reason why he wanted at that time was because there was plenty amount of people that left the town, left the Crystal Lake. So that was his concern. That way it'd be less people on the street, less headaches for everyone else, because there will be road closures while we're doing that work. But when I went out there and I took a look at the area, I did see where some of the key problems were. It looked like either had issues with grading to where the roads kind of came to a V instead of being at the right grade. And so I looked into this a decent amount, trying to find out, seeing if there was roadway plans, how this came over to us, just to get a good understanding about it. I wanted as much background as I can on it, but I didn't receive a whole lot looking for that. But what I was able to see and looking at, there's going to be some overlay, but there's also going to be milling. And the milling's better than overlay. Overlay is just, it's a smaller amount, but there's going to be a combination of that. But the areas that there is that sag, I'm going to do my best to get that sag out of there so where it can flow. Like it's the area, I guess, in the middle where the primary, I don't know what you call that golf course area there in the middle in between the homes. Like what's trying to remember the name of that main road there.
Crystal Lake or Flamingo.
Okay.
Flamingo is the bad one right now.
Country Club.
Oh,
Yeah. So Country Club, that road right there, I guess they have drainage that does come off of there. There are some areas where it has valley gutter, where it actually has concrete in to try to move the water to where it needs to go. But all that's being taking a look at it. We are going to move forward. It's going to be probably, about 3 weeks, more or less, 2-3 weeks. I did try to reach out to Tal today to get a better answer to coming here and say definitely at this time. But I did ask him, let me see, I did ask him about a month ago, are we still on, actually March 21st, are we still on schedule for May? And he said yes. So that's where we are with that. Hopefully we can get, it's 1.5 miles of roadway for a total of $487,000 of work that's getting ready to take place within your community.
Jason, you have anything to add on the water breakages and boil notices and all that?
Yes, so this was also sent out, I believe, Mark, you sent this out, the response to 4, or it's had like 4 instances. So it was a boil water notice sent out. There was 4 different times. On February 21st, it was actually a planned shutdown. So we were doing work there. So we knew what we were, if the pressure drops within a certain area and we're performing routine maintenance, which we were replacing some valves, it wasn't a break or anything like that. We just put it out. It's precautionary. By the way, we say precautionary so that, that you boil the water, but none of the times where we stated it was precautionary, that it came back as a positive for any bacteriological or anything along those lines that someone could be hurt. So on the second, on March 17th, there was a power issue from, I guess, Duke. There was a power surge, and it caused one of our motors to lose. Basically, it's like a circuit breaker.
that was on the tank.
That was, let me see, it says the VFDs, it was a power surge caused a circuit breaker to trip a variable frequency drive for a water distribution motor. So there was the motor, not on the well pump, but on the what once we pull it from the tank, it goes out. That's the piece that tripped. So we went ahead and ordered the parts. That was March 17th. Takes a little while for some of these parts to come in. So on March 30th, the pump starter had tripped again, And then we were able to go out and it's just a reset, but we did install a new breaker and we replaced the starter. We also contacted a SCADA company because I was upset myself because we do have a tank and we should be able to have, it has floats. So when it gets to a certain level, it'll trigger and tell us, hey, you know, say something broke, if it's a well. Because if the other thing, it won't do anything because that's just pushing the water, right? But if you have an issue where the well's pumping and the well pump and motor, because the pump on the bottom, motor up top, if that goes like, if there's an issue there and the water level keeps going down, we should know that there's been an issue with that well pump, and then we can get out there pretty quick. Our response time generally is 20 to 25 minutes, maybe even faster. We do have people that are constantly on call. So if we need someone to go out there to address it, they'll address it pretty quick. April 7th, there was a heater component on our starter for our well pump motor that tripped. Now that was the well pump. That wasn't the water distribution pump. That was on the well pump motor. We upgraded the heater component, and we also, we opened an interconnect that's in between Bell Street Water Plant and the Crystal Lake Water Plant. That way, in case, we don't necessarily like to always combine those, but we went ahead and opened it up just in case something happened here in the near future where that'll provide water in case of water loss. So hopefully we don't have any other issues, but we did put that was out to bid. We are hopefully coming before council soon in the next month or so with upgrades to the water plant. As far as the sewer, this is kind of the first time I'm hearing about the sewer problems, at least.
There was an issue with the sewer. There were 5 homes hooked up to one sewer line, and the sewer backed up into one home. The lady had to pay for it, but I understand the city came back and reimbursed her for her expenses. Somebody has to verify that, but someone reimbursed her for her expenses.
So what I'm doing and making sure going forward, because there was a person that was they're building a duplex and they said, well, I'll put it on one sewer lateral. I said, no, if you have a water meter, you're getting a sewer lateral. I don't like the builders in general. They like to combine because it's a cheaper cost, but by standards, you shouldn't do it. You should have a clean out a couple feet off the roadway. You should have a clean out closer to your home. There's certain standards. I'm making sure or doing my best to make sure that that's in place going forward. What happened in the past, I don't, if there's we have to take a look at some issues as far as sewer lines, but generally our code says it goes to the main, but I usually, if it's in place, I like to go back to the clean out, which is off the edge of the asphalt, about 3 to 5 feet roughly.
Yeah, generally we don't maintain service lines, right? Even if they're multiple service lines.
We usually don't, but sometimes there's some customer service there in some way. Trying to be nice. We go out, we understand most people, they're in a bad way, and depending if someone could help them out, sometimes we help them out.
I appreciate what you've done so far. We will continue. I would say 98% of this group here is from the park. And I appreciate them coming and backing me up because I'm nervous right now, scared to death addressing anyone.
I think we feel the same way. We're pretty nervous over here too.
But I appreciate you working with us and for us, and we will work with you. We always will reciprocate. You give us something, we give you something.
Yeah.
That's the way of life.
Definitely. I understand when I was out there, I did see there was quite a few people brought it up to me. So I was able to see some of the issues, and then maybe we get out and we can talk about some of the irrigation and whatnot that goes on the roads, and hopefully we can get to a good space. But yeah, we're looking at all different ways to do that. Also try to modify the trash to get a smaller truck. So, cause it is some tight turns in there with a larger truck. So I tried looking at that, but I'm trying to attack this from all angles and do what's best and keep your roads looking good and hopefully we can get that fixed soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if this is for Mark or if it's for Jason, but do you have a plan B should the May deadline pass?
Complain
I do.
again.
No?
If I'm confident that they can do that. I don't believe we have another contractor that has asphalt, but that's something pretty quick that if we needed to piggyback and get another company or something along those lines. And because I did price this versus others and there are differences, but there are, this company is local and the prices are pretty good on some things and other things, they do concrete repairs as well. So sidewalks, but the plan B is if it doesn't work and they're not going at the speed that we want them to, then we can possibly get another agreement here in front of the council with a unit pricing, which would be a continuing services agreement. And we already have the budget. So basically we're just locked in and we move forward and, we come in and say, this is the proposal. I believe do you have authority to sign once a unit pricing matches?
If they don't get it done, we're going to pull the PO and someone else is going to do it. Period. Because just to let you know, I've got 25 others of them that haven't been done. And again, nothing against the company, the owner, great guy. We love working with him, does great work, but he's got too much work to do. And we've got to get this done because Jason will be looking at this if he hasn't already, because he has nothing to do. Pavement management plan for the other ones, because I got 20, I had Andy pull all the POs that are still lingering from last year. And it isn't just their roads. We got other poor roads in the city that aren't done yet. And you still have a couple, this is going to take, in fact, if one of you want to take this and pass it around to each other, I actually highlighted everything that's going to be fixed next month. So that's going to be the majority of your roads, but you still got a couple of the smaller ones in there that are listed as poor. So he will be looking at those also for this year coming up.
Okay.
So we haven't forgot about you. And I appreciate the way you came here, the way we've conversed on the phone and in emails. Y'all been very nice. I appreciate it. And I understand your frustration. Believe me, I do. And the one road is in bad shape. So.
Shelley, did you get your question answered?
I did. I
Any-
just don't know if the deadline is, when they say the end of May, did they pinpoint a date, a day?
They didn't pinpoint a date. The owner said that it would be the
Okay.
beginning of May. So we're figuring the first 2 weeks. So if it's that, then it should be done by May.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Item number 9, FDEP groundwater sampling at the airport.
Has everybody read the background? I put as much in there kind of so everybody to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, we'll wait just a second.
Okay.
That way everybody that's getting up can go ahead and get up.
do you want to talk, ma'am? Okay.
Got a speaker? Got it. Sorry, missed it. All right, if we could quickly return back to the meeting here. If you're leaving, we need you to leave. If you're staying, we need you to sit back down. All right, we'll back up just a little bit. We did have a speaker that was wanting to speak on this road issue, Ms. Kay. If you will, just give your name and address for the record.
My name is Kay Nelson. I live at Crystal Lake Club, 2644 South Country Club Drive, 33825.
Yes, ma'am.
We have over 500 houses in Crystal Lake, as you probably all know.
Mhm.
I'm really glad to hear that you're finally doing something about the roads. However, my concern is that you're going to do a surface instead of fixing the sewers and all the other stuff that's under the roads and then pave. I didn't hear anything about that being done for the broken pipes and things like that, and then pave the roads, because we'll just end up having to dig them up again. And that's what I wondered, if that was part of it.
Okay.
Whether you were going to get this structural stuff done underneath. And I really like the idea of fixing the runoff, but that is my question. And I will sit down and wait for an answer. Thank you.
Well, don't sit down yet. You might have follow-up questions. So just hang out right there if you can. Jason, do you want to speak on anything underground?
We don't have any plans that I know of underground, any underground work. I did hear for the first time about the sewer issues. I don't have anything planned underground, and if I were to do an analysis and take everything and just say upgrade and enlarge, then you wouldn't likely be getting your roads fixed for another 8 months, a year, if that. I don't even think, probably maybe 2 years. So I don't think that would, if we decide to fix something in a certain location, then we can come back to it and repair that road just as new as it was, like we're going to do now. But we don't have anything currently planned, and I haven't heard any issue with water and sewer over there.
So Jason, to be clear, any sewer deficiencies that the city's been made aware of are currently fixed?
I'm not aware. That's like the laterals, 5 laterals, and that would end up having to come out to the main, depending where the main is. Is the main in the middle of the road? Is the main to the side of the road? So,
But you wouldn't have to uproot, hundreds of feet of road. It would just be a spot.
if it would be a spot. The only thing I think we're looking at, maybe an upsizing of a portion of water main, but I have to see exactly where that portion lies, and I can get back with you and let you know.
So we don't have anything in the next, let's say, 6 months that we're planning on.
No.
Okay.
No, it's all internal within the plant right now. All that work is internal.
Okay. So Ms. K, you heard the response there. Do you have a follow-up to that?
Not to that, but the only other point I have is for your EPI company.
Mhm.
I think using the excuse of having snowbirds is a poor one, because we have almost 50% of our people are full-time.
Mhm.
So that is a poor excuse on the part of EPA. They could be really nice people, and I know they're local, but they're not doing their job, and I appreciate your holding their feet to the fire.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor,
Just to point out, section 98-211 says, the owner of the property shall be responsible for maintaining and keeping clean the sewer pipes leading to and connecting from the plumbing system to the city distribution lines and main sewers. And so if anything that the city does in that regard is they're doing because they're nice people.
Well,
That's-
into what you said, that the one they talk about, we reimbursed the lady. No, we didn't, because it was on her side. It was explained to her.
I have someone waiting and then you can go. Yeah, you'll have to wait till the person that's waiting first, okay?
Okay.
I have you, hold on just a moment. I have Utilities Supervisor Sleva who'd like to say something.
Okay.
He's on Zoom.
Mr. Sleva, go ahead.
Well, that's. awesome.
Joseph, you there?
He raised his hand. See the little hand? There he is. We see you, kinda.
He's out in the field right now.
There you are.
Mr. Sleva, can you hear us? Looks like a bad signal.
You got a bad signal. Let's see if I can help him.
Maybe we'll just call.
He's connecting audio.
Somebody's cell phone.
He's trying to reestablish connection.
Maybe he just called in somebody's cell phone, they can put it on the record.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting for that,
Thank you.
we could have this other speaker come up. Yes, sir. Just give your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Steve Alsop. I'm Crystal Lake resident, 433 Northeast Sneed Circle. I'm actually the manager out there. Tom was the HOA vice president. So I've been communicating with you a lot, Mark, and I believe I've sent a couple
Yes.
to you, Mayor. But yeah, you're right. We actually reimbursed that resident, and we also understand that all the lateral lines are our responsibility as the owner of the park's responsibility. So our biggest question, and I know Joseph came out a couple of times. I've met with him out there, and the only thing that we're still trying to figure out is, okay, what is the lateral? And I mean, because the lateral lines come from the homes, and then where do they connect to the main sewer line? And that's where the question is. And I was asking Joseph if the city had a camera that maybe they could run down, because we hired our own plumber too. Not only did we reimburse the plumber that this lady hired, but then we hired our own plumber, and we paid him to come out and run a camera down. But his camera only went down a certain distance, and you can see like there is a clean out, like you were mentioning a while ago, Jason. It's about 5 feet off the road. And when he ran it down that clean out, it takes like a 5-foot drop. And you can see like 3 or 4 other lines, lateral lines coming into that. And then it drops down and you can just see it dead end. It doesn't dead end, but it tees into another line, which looks like it's probably maybe a 4 or 6 inch line. We don't know, like, is that just another lateral line that these are dropping into? We're just kind of confused on where the lateral lines stop and where the main starts, where the city's responsibility comes in, where ours stops.
Well, the park doesn't have any as-built plans.
It was built like 40 years ago. I've looked, and the most I could be able to find was some old blueprints that show some not storm drains, but the main sewer lines, but that's it. There's no really anything other than that, just a line from this storm drain to this storm drain. So that was, I just wanted to kind of.
I can answer that. So on sewer mains, it's just going to go straight directly out, generally. It's going to go directly out into the road. That can be in the center of the road. That could be off to the side of the road. It depends. But wherever that sewer main lies, it runs down the street. So that sewer lateral will come in, it drops in. They got different standards. They can come in on a Y. So it kind of goes with the flow and it gathers itself and kind of gains a little momentum instead of just dropping in. But I've seen them here on several occasions where it just drops in. But once the sewer line goes out and goes into the main, that's it. It shouldn't go. A sewer lateral can't go to another sewer lateral and then to that. It would end up go and converge maybe into one, and then that would go into the main. So if it were to come back, okay, we need to separate 4 sewer laterals, then it would just have to be 4 Ys in front of the properties, directly kind of 90-degree, going right into the property from whichever point worked out best, wherever the sewer lateral was in line. So even if they were just say they were side by side 4 feet away, you got to run that in right into the sewer main itself, unless there was a manhole. And then you can also go right into a manhole if there was an actual manhole in front of the property. That's the other option that you can do.
With regard to or identified, Jason may do it a different way, and I'm not suggesting that's the only way, but when I was in utility business, what we would do is look at the manholes, and if your line comes in between 2 manholes and both manholes are clean, then it's considered to be a service line. It's because if it was a main blockage, that one of those would be backed up.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we also, it's on our cameras. I believe this here, but it's on our camera, they have like we have a tracer and it can follow the head of that camera and it can tell you kind of where it goes. And if it, goes to the left or the right. There's a good amount of times when someone's asking you, okay, can you go look? The thing's already filled up. So it's kind of hard to look at it. So it's best to look at it when it's clean. But in general, it's just you can push it down, you can trace it, but you kind of
Yeah.
know where you're at with it.
When our
radar.
plumber came out, he had his camera and the camera went down like 5 foot, like I said, but then it got to a T and the head on his camera was so big and it had this guard that, protects the head of the lens of the camera. So it wouldn't make that 90-degree because like I said, it wasn't a sloped, T or anything. It wasn't like a Y. It was just a T that 3 of these lines came into a vertical, dropped 5 feet, hit a T, and the water, we had like a house 3 doors down flush. You could see water flowing through that. So that's why I'm wondering if maybe that third house down, they're lateral, and then these other laterals are dropping into that. I don't know. That's why I was asking Joseph if he could maybe bring a camera out and just run it from the main sewer line, where the manhole cover is to the other manhole cover, see what's going on, just try to figure it out.
Yeah, what we would be able to see with that, and we would end up hiring a company because we don't have a sewer camera like that. And basically it's motorized and it goes in, but you can make the camera head, it kind of pivots up and down, looks and twists around and you can look at it. And it'll give you, when we do that, it'll give the footage. So then we just measure from the manhole, wherever it came from. And we measure and say, when we go back and look at the videotape, we put those 2 numbers together and we just mark it, say, there's a lateral here, there's a lateral here. And if for some reason, if there's 4 homes and we only see 2 laterals, then there's a connection there somewhere. But I mean, we don't do that by our standard. I don't think we're going to fix that problem. I mean, it's where that would be on the homeowner per code. So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
I just interrupt. I got Joseph on the phone here.
Oh, okay.
Joseph, you want to give an update?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Sorry for all the trouble. In regards to the sewer connection, I know Jason was just and the park. They were going to try to remove the trees. And I went back and had a conversation with Jason, and we kind of established that we're going to put a clean out at the drop where these homes are connected if there's multiple homes. Is it like this? Everybody's saying it's not supposed to be like that. And basically just that would be just doing our part, trying to help out as best as possible. And then also in regards to the cameraing, today we actually tested out our new camera for our back truck. So we are planning to try to run a camera down the main. It won't be as fine tuned as the cameras that Jason was speaking about, but it will give us an idea if there's roots building up around this most recent situation's clean out.
Okay, perfect. Just one of the questions back on the road, just shifting gears a little bit. I just happened to think of this a while ago. One of the residents had asked me about when they do come in and repave these roads, how will that affect driveways? Like when I'm sure these, they do it all the time. So do they just taper that off, or is there going to be like a bump that everybody has to back up over to get up on the new pavement when they pave the new roads?
You mill it down. What we're trying to do for the majority of the areas, we're trying to just mill it down 1 inch. And then this is where the areas where it's getting milled, right?
Mhm.
So it's going to be the 1 inch and then it's going to go back with 1 inch of asphalt. So it's going to be what was taken out is getting put back in. Overlay, it's going to be a little bit higher, but that'll kind of taper off right there at the edge by where the driveway is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And for the record, that was Joseph Sleva. You want to give his title of the company?
He's a utilities manager.
All right. Any other questions on the roadways or sewerways at Crystal Lake? Moving on to item number 9, FDEP groundwater sampling.
Again, if you've all had a chance to read the background, I've got it, I think, pretty much covered in there about a restrictive covenant instead of us continuing to check this out for who knows the next 20 years or maybe more than that. You see now Jerry and I both had a Zoom meeting with our special counsel for environmental attorney. And he says he opined this is the way we need to go. And this is done all the time. And it is lengthy and very involved process. So both Jerry and I highly recommend that you also improve engaging his firm to handle this for us.
Just, it's not a conflict, but just to let you know that Frank Herr and I had a 4-person law firm 30 years ago. We were partners. Just wanted to let you know that. But the reason we selected him, was then, and he still is, an outstanding environmental attorney.
Okay. Any questions on this sampling?
I have some questions.
Go ahead.
My question is on pump number 2, well number 2.
You got a page number there?
Page number 144.
Okay.
Pretty much as I read the report, all the wells pretty much are passing under the method detention limit of 8 milligrams per liter. But this particular well, number 2, it was reported at 13, which exceeds the limit. So I'm trying to figure out, why would we abandon it if the detection limit is 8 and this particular well is at 13 for arsenic? Why would we abandon this? And can we just abandon all the others and keep an eye on this one?
Well, I think that's a question for Frank to answer, but my gut reaction on it, having done this many years ago and don't do it now, is that we're really basically, we're committing to keep the site and have the restrictions as to how it's used and so on for the rest of eternity. Asbestos is not an easy contaminant to get out of groundwater or soils. So there will be places that are hotter than others, as I refer to, and so.
You mean arsenic?
Yeah, arsenic.
So when we say that we want to purge it, does that mean that we're not gonna conduct samples anymore? We just gonna leave it alone? Because as I look at this particular one, I'm talking about well number 2, most of the samples was done at least twice a year, but this one was done April the 7th of 23, and it was only done once. And here it's a year later, and we haven't had a sample done for a whole year on it. So if you was gonna bring it to the council, you would think you would have the most recent sample instead of a year-old sample.
This is the most recent sample. It took that long for DEP to get back with this firm that we use to pull these samples. And it isn't basically to shut it down. It'll be restrictive what can be built there, which some of it already is. You could never build a school there or daycare. That we already know that from when we removed a foot of the soil out there.
You can never even pump water out of it. And even with water mains that break or sewer mains that break, we can't use well points there.
Yeah.
Because that would discharge the surface waters at some point. So.
But it was the most recent one. Yeah, we don't, as a city, get a hold of them. DEP sends us this letter, says you have to get it done. We went out to bid for this firm because the one that the city had been using for years, when I started reading it, and it was only for a short time we're supposed to be using them. But yeah, it's all on them. They're the ones that are making us do all this stuff environmentally so that's why there's not a new one.
And it's like 500, did I read it right? It's like 500 feet from the airport? And how far is it from the housing? Because they're housing out there. They've been for.
Yeah, it's actually, there's photos in there somewhere. It's the old pool building hangar. When you're driving out, when you go by the main terminal, And then there's one building, it's a second building. It's the one that looks like it's been ripped off by the hurricane because it has. That's the old pool building. And again, it was, you weren't on council then, and I wasn't on way back when this started with the city. But it was the person who owned it out there, and they used to change oil and that and engines, and it all went into the ground. And the city has paid a lot of money over the years, having to take it out of other funds, to take care of it. And if we don't do this restrictive covenant, then they're going to continue to make us take samples, and they may go up, they may go down. Like Jerry said, it's not going to go away.
Okay, but let me make sure I'm understanding it though. If we put a stop to it right now, we would not ever go back and monitor it, right now, as it
Well,
looks. We would never
DEP
go back and monitor.
DEP will not make us go back and monitor it anymore. Because if we don't, then we'll be coming to you eventually to take more money out of general fund or $250,000 to keep monitoring this. This will put an end to it. We'll no longer have to monitor it. It'll just be restrictive on what it can be used for. And I've already talked to JT, and FAM has no thought of using this area for anything that you couldn't use it for anyways.
So the thought is that the contaminant is not going away on its own. The only way it would go away is if you took all that soil out and put new soil in there.
Yeah,
And who
and
knows how deep you'd have to
Maybe
go.
have to go 100 feet or more, right?
Right. So what you're basically saying is you're roping this area off and saying, we're not going to use this area for anything other than X, Y, and Z. And that doesn't include housing or anything that would hurt a person. It's more for industrial use, things like that.
Very
Right.
well said.
Okay.
And at the same time, it's not gonna grow or move any other direction. That's why we don't have to watch it. Because it's just gonna stay exactly where it is, and we just won't do any building, and that way we don't have to pay to monitor.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's really what it's gonna do, stay exactly where it is?
Well, I can't tell where it stayed, but might go down or come up, but it's not going to stay. It won't leave that area there because all the other area outside, it's already been tested. Like I said, maybe my second year here, we took a foot out or 2 feet out of it from there.
Sure.
And the environmental testing company, they're the ones that are recommending that we close this.
Yes.
Madrid.
They're the ones, this report went to DEP, and like I said, it took them months and months to come back and say that, okay, if you do this covenant, we'll allow you to stop doing it. So the experts we hired are the ones that recommended it. And now our attorney, the expert in it, saying that is the way to go.
And
I know if you're not involved in it, it's confusing because even if you are involved in it, it is still confusing. So
he's done a number of these.
No, I'm not confused at all. The only part that I didn't quite understand was that they set their own standard of what it was the max it could be, but they allow us to go past the max and cut it off. It's still there. They got their standard set at 8 milligrams per liter, but this one is at 13. And they saying it's okay with that. But yet still they set the standard.
Pretty much that's the case. I mean, if it was below the standard, then we wouldn't have to do anything. It would be fully remediated site, but it's arsenic is, as mentioned, it's not easy to
Remedy.
remediate.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve D9, the FDEP groundwater sampling conclusion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bennett,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 10, discussion reference city funds to assist council members with Form 6.
as you can see on there, the accounting firm CPA wouldn't give us an estimate because they were busy doing taxes. If you still want to wait for it, I'm sure after the end of this month they can. Melody did send out to her fellow finance people, and Lake Placid is the one that sent something back. And I put that in there just to see what they decided to do.
Okay. So the question comes down is, does the council members want to devote city funds to pay for CPAs to help council members fill out these forms or not? We do have one reference, Lake Placid doing up to $500. In my own research, there's a couple that told me it would be more close to $100 to $200 for a company to do that. So any questions or comments?
Well, my comments remain the same. There are 3 seats here that's gonna come available in November. And that Form 6 is part of our package if we decide that we want to run for candidate again this year. And I just feel as though we as candidates, if we do decide to run, we should not ask the residents of Avon Park to pay for that. If we want to run and it's more expensive than we want, or if it's confusing the forms, I think that is something that we probably need to get with our donors and help our donors, support us in that. I just don't think that it's the principle of it. I just don't think that the residents of Avon Park should be required to pay for us to get assistance on Form 6 for something that we want to do. Because I am more than sure there are Republicans, dependents, Republicans, the Democrats, independents, they all gonna be voting different ways on different candidates. And so therefore, you're taking their money, putting it towards your campaign, and they're not gonna even vote for you. And vice versa. I think that if a candidate want to run, that should be a responsibility of their own and not something that they put on the taxpayers. That's my opinion.
Any other opinions?
I understand that opinion for a candidate who's going to run, who knows up front that he's going to have a Form 6, and it's probably going to cost them money to have somebody probably professionally, file this for them, unless they happen to be a really smart person or have somebody in their family do it. But so I agree with you on that point. But the other point, and I'm not suggesting one way or the other, is that for those of us that are on the board right now, we're going to have to, unless we have somebody qualified to do it for us, we're going to have to pay to have this done. And like you said, the last election, that when we decided to go to 4-year terms, Ms. Taylor, you made the comment that if you knew it was a 4-year term, you probably wouldn't have ran. Of course, you didn't realize at the time when you said that you actually had a 3-year term. So your next, if you run again, it'll be a 4-year term. So you know that up front. But those of us that have been serving the last 2 or 3 years, this was not an expenditure or a process that you signed up for. And if it's $100 or $200, then I'm okay with that too. But I'm just saying it's when you think about, when you look all over the state of California, this is now going out to every county commission, city council meeting, and so on and so forth. And there's people leaving their councils left and right by the hundreds, actually. And not so much necessarily about the cost it would take to have this done, but they never originally, when they got elected, never originally signed up to basically have their entire financial records out there for public records for people to see. And, I was always told that, my parents always told me, you don't talk about your finances to anybody, necessarily not even family members, because that's finances is something private. So it's nobody's fault except the state legislator that, mandated that we do this for them. And so our choice is that either we do it and continue or we drop out. And if it was, if it was like $1,000, then I think it would be something where somebody would have to think about whether they would, signed up for this when they first got elected, because, for 7, 8 years now, I've been doing Form 1, which I did by myself and never had a problem with it, never cost anything. Now I'm going to have to hire somebody to do this. And Mayor is right. And if somebody can do this for $100 or $200, then I'm fine with it. And I wouldn't necessarily ask for the citizens or taxpayers to pay for it. But I just want to make sure that everybody realizes that, yes, if you're going to run for election, you're going to run for a candidate, you're going to have this done in the future by law. But for those that have been up here and been serving for the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years, well, 3 years, that, we didn't sign up for this to start off with, but, if we want to stay, then that's what we'll do. And I think that most of us will agree to stay and either have somebody knowledgeable enough to do it for us or pay to have it done. So both ways, I'm okay with it, but I understand your point too.
Any other questions, comments?
When I made the original suggestion, the suggestion was really transition. You need, if you need to figure out how to change from your Form 1 and learn how to do Form 6, might be helpful to have an accountant to help you with that issue. Whether you want to continue that in the future, then that's up to you. I would just suggest that we not make it we're going to pay for the accountant thing, but more of increase the commission salary, either temporarily or permanently, as opposed to saying exactly what it's being expended for.
I think it would be nice if the city had somebody that we all could use and have it taken care of one way or another, because either way, once it gets done, it's going to be public record for everybody to see it. So, my only confusion is trying to find somebody I know that's qualified to be able to do this for me, because I know I can't do it by myself. So I'm hoping and praying that my accountant that I use can do it. If not, then I'll look for advice from people who have other people recommended that can do it. And, hopefully once it's done easy, they can show me how, and maybe in the future I could do it by myself. But, some of us are a lot more computer savvy than others, and some of us are not computer savvy at all. I mean, every time I get a new computer, it takes me hours, if not weeks, to get it up and running the way the old one was. And same thing with the cell phone. And this iPad thing right here, I use it for city council meetings, and that's it, because I don't know anything about iPads, but I use it for that. So I think that's my only issue, is the fact that not so much the cost, but just that I'm going to need somebody to help me. So it'd be nice if city had people that a list or something that said, hey, these people will qualify to do it for you. And just like you have your income tax, we all have different people maybe do our income tax for us. So hopefully the people that does their income tax can help us do our Form 6. And I guess I'll find out starting in next month, maybe you look forward to it. So it is what it is. Just move forward.
Okay, anything else? Nope.
So I think because all of our finances are different, your finances will be different from somebody else's on the board. So the $500 might benefit you. Yes, the $500 will benefit you to get your form prepared. But somebody who doesn't have as extensive finances, it may only cost them $50 or $100.
Right.
Then they've made $400 off the
Right.
city,
So
which almost doesn't seem fair.
So I don't think that we should do this. And if we did do it, the only way we do it is it'd be like a up to, coverage or something like that, but, or maybe everybody minimum, but I think you're right. I think that everybody's is going to be different, and to sit there and set up a set system that we all get, paid in advance for something that may cost more, may cost less, that doesn't make any sense at this moment. Maybe after we do this Form 6 this year, and after the new candidates do it for the upcoming election, then maybe we'll look at things a little bit different. And we also may look at having people not interested in running because they don't want the world to know exactly what their finances are. But you're right. In some ways, it doesn't seem fair for somebody who has, say he's completely retired and doesn't really have an income. They may get the $50 accountant to do that for it. If there's somebody who owns a business or has other investments, then it may be a different issue. But I think we all have to just take it on upon ourselves and make our own decision, and we'll go from there. We'll figure it out as we go. And at the same time, I would assume people in the future decide to run. They might ask us, well, what did you do when you had to fill out that Form 6? And who did you use? And how much did it cost? Oh, it cost that much? Well, then I may decide whether they're going to run or not run. And then it's like, it was a public record. Yeah, it's gonna be public record. So everybody's gonna know exactly your finances, which I don't like that at all. I don't think most people like it, but that's the law. And so if we decide to stay, then we're gonna have to go along with the law. That's my point.
Any other questions, comments?
No.
Seeing none, no motions.
Motion to adjourn, please.
We got, hold on.
Let's get it over with.
All right, we got city manager updates.
Okay, sorry about that.
Well, what I'm going to tell you probably should have adjourned, but
I'm sorry, Mayor, did we have supposed to?
There was no motion.
Oh,
the AIPP lease. Back on, I actually wrote it out before I came over, so I didn't forget it, so you understand it. This April 9th, we had a meeting with FDOT, Melody and I and JT, Zoom type, and it was supposed to be about 2 current grants we currently have out there, the fencing and the AWAS system. But they hit us at the last hour, last hour of the last 3 years. Jerry's fully aware of this. He's been in meetings with us. FDOT has opined that if this lease goes through, they consider this a privatization, which JT and I argued with them. It isn't, but they've already made the decision, and FDOT will not, you can't put in or receive any more FDOT grants, they're saying. FAM can't, and neither can the city. Yeah, like I said, you probably wanted to adjourn a couple minutes ago. It'll get a little better. So anyway, as soon as we hung up, I called Lowell, and Lowell, who's retired from FDOT and knows a lot of people there, he ended up getting with the assistant secretary from FDOT, who said, yep, they've looked at it, this AIPP program. They're considering it, that the public airport will not be operated by a public agency under that. So they, as Jerry knows, there's 2 words that pop out to him: owned and operated. I could argue them all day, but I'm an attorney. Jerry is, but it's probably not going to do any good because they're the ones that they're making this decision. So after Lowell, it took them about a week or so to get a hold of this guy and say, yes, this is where it come from, because on our meeting, they really didn't want to tell us this, did they? And then one of them said, and FAA is not going to give you any either. And I'm like, really? You're speaking for them? Well, I'm not speaking for them. So she was kind of speaking out of turn in that one. So anyways, last week, Jerry and I, our outside attorneys, Lowell and Melly and I were on a Zoom meeting to figure out what are we going to do. And David, our outside attorney, said that he has heard from the FAA that the record of decision should be coming down very, very soon. But we've kind of heard that before, but he's kind of said it like he had actually heard from somebody that knows what, is going on. So anyways, after a lot of discussion and with 3 attorneys on there, the decision was we need to try to change the law, this language in the Florida statute that they provided to us. So Lowell is going to take the first stab at it and then send it around to everybody and our attorneys to look at for the best language that can be changed where this AIPP isn't privatization, and that we kept telling them, we told them and Lowell told them we still own it. And in my thought, we still really operate it, but the general aviation, but they don't think it is. So I'll let Jerry go into what will take place and the time frame, which isn't really quick. But anyways, myself and Lowell after the meeting met with JT on a Zoom call on Friday, and he's fine with what we're doing. So Jerry.
Well, yeah, what we'll do is basically meet with our legislative delegation and provide them with the language of the bill. We'll put together the bill. They'll change it, but we'll put together one that we'd like to see and try and get that passed. In the meantime, I suggested that we put in a provision in the agreement that basically states that either party can dump out of the agreement if ultimately there's no ability to get grants from DOT or FAA in the unlikely event that they won't do it either. So that gives us an out because at some point, even if BAM is operating the airport and managing it, you're still going to want to do improvements that will involve grants at some point. And so I'm sure they're going to want them. So that kind of puts a little bit of a dark spot on the lease, but there's nothing we can do about it because that's their provision. And I think that the attorneys together kind of decided that to appeal this through the administrative process would do nothing but, light a fire under the people who are going to be approving everything in the future. So it may be we win the battle and lose the war because we'll be on the bottom of the list for grants in the future.
And Jerry and I think you agree when they brought up, they said usually when the opinion's made on this, they really look at the state agency who made the opinion. Right.
Yeah. And the other thing, I believe the legislation has a good chance, but simply because if they don't allow it, then I think P3s for the public-private partnerships that the state says they love will be done for airports. They'll never see them again because who would do that? It just doesn't make any sense. So I think we make it clear to the legislature, and if they don't want them, then they won't change it, and that'll be that. Because either AIPP or through the state's P3 program, it's pretty much read the same way.
AIPP is a FAA program, right?
Correct.
So DOT thought the FAA would no longer hand out grants if we followed their own program.
So she said until I questioned her about, and
How in
she
the
said,
world does
well,
that
maybe.
make sense?
Yeah, it didn't to Melly and I either. None of this made sense to us, so. Well, especially getting it this late, they've had that lease for months on months, so.
Could it be that maybe someone's just sick of dealing with it and they don't want to do anything with it?
It may be that they don't want to do it for whatever reason until the legislature tells them this is what they have to do. And that sometimes that's what they want. They want, to have somebody else take the responsibility for doing it.
Right.
Because they figured the legislature drafted the statute, and that's their interpretation of the statute. So there you go.
Gotcha. So we wait.
Once again.
Okay. Tell us something else, Mark.
Yeah, make us happy, right?
Change the subject.
Okay, I put on there, I misspelled Jan on there too, that hopefully they don't see it, but, back in 2021, two of you were on here, and we talked about and tried moving ahead with taking the insurance money, which there's $264,000 left after the demo of the old, well, it was the fire department, then it was the police department. And building I actually have the letter I sent Tom, the city will build a one-story building with 5% of the current building footprint within 5%. And the church service center to use. They can't sublease it, and they can get a 20 or 30-year lease. And we tried moving forward on that, and some things fell through. So now that we do have the old Yana site down there, which is city property, cleaned off, and they did a very nice job down there. We don't need to talk about it tonight, but I think it's something that we probably need to talk about what your vision is of that, whether we still want to build a building for the church service center, who really doesn't want to move, but that's really not up to them. And then what your thoughts are on, or vision are on that property that's going to be sitting there.
Okay, so obviously we did not move forward with the building because we did not get a building plan.
Correct.
Which was going to be provided to us by Church Services Center or their proxy, whatever. So basically we either gotta do it for them or leave it alone. Does that kind of sum it up?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that something should be done with the property. I mean, the property does not just encompass that one office that they're occupying. There's a considerable amount of industrial property there, of which would be a great place for an industrial company to create jobs and drive the city forward. I don't think that we need to let our properties lay vacant and lay dormant. So we definitely need to do something with that property. So just a question of exactly what and how do we go about figuring that out? So I think we at least need to take it up at one of our future council meetings. I mean, we can try asking them yet again, do you have a plan? I'm sure the answer is probably no, but we need to go ahead and schedule it, whether it be in, 30 days, 60 days, whatever. It needs to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I figured after this meeting, depending which way you want to lean, which I agree, I believe that property should be used for that reason, create some jobs, but I'm gonna reach out to Tom, talk to him, but I know he's been out of the county or out of the country a lot too, so.
Yeah.
But to see what their feeling is on it, but
Because if you don't use the old property for that purpose, then it then creates the question of what do we use that property for?
Right.
Yeah. So kind of a cascading effect. But nevertheless, we'll take it up in the future. So everybody be thinking about what you'd like to see there. All right, anything else for the good of the city? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.
Thank you.